Hi everyone, I'm Jodi and welcome to my channel. I'm really glad that you're here today. If you're new, thanks so much for stopping by. I hope you take a second to look at all of the videos that are designed and created for women who are busy and ambitious and over 40 plus who just want to look and feel their most uniquely beautiful them. I do understand that doing these tutorials, not everybody's going to come out with the same look as I have because bone structure, eye color, skin color is all different. But I do put a lot of thought into these tutorials and just walk you through how to apply the different products, where to apply it, which technique to use so that you can get a similar look that makes your features most stand out and most beautiful. I want to quickly say thank you to my newest subscribers. You'll see the list of them down here. Thank you so much for subscribing. And once we get through this tutorial, and I hope you do it with me, I'm going to show you the outfit that I have on just in case you're interested in this shirt. It's very cute. I'll show you that once we get our makeup on. For this makeup application, we're going to use just a few products. In fact, you'll want to grab your bronzer if you have one. Speaking of bronzer, are you a powder bronzer or a cream bronzer person? Now, I asked this question a few weeks ago about blush, cream blush versus powder blush. And I really did think that the outcome was going to be more votes for cream blush, and it wasn't. It was more votes for powder blush. So lesson learned to me, don't assume you know the answer. But cream contour, these tongue twisters, I struggle with them sometimes. So leave me a comment down below if you're a cream bronzer or a powder bronzer person, and I'll gear a next tutorial and some product reviews over the winner of that product. So if you are ready to get started, again, grab your bronzer, grab an eyeshadow palette that has a really, really light color. So we're gonna use a little bit of that on our eyes, and we are ready to get started. Guys, so let's get this started for a fun summer look. It's gonna be effortless. I'm not even gonna lie to you and tell you we're gonna try to do this in 10 minutes because we are gonna try, but we know how that usually works out. So we're just not gonna time it today. We're gonna enjoy the process and enjoy being with our makeup. So the first thing I wanna do is prep my skin, and in order to do that, I'm just gonna use a little bit of my La Roche-Posay SPF 50. I use this every single day, and sun, cloud, storm, doesn't matter. I use about 2 pumps, and I just really want to get my skin prepped. It's important that we prep our lips also for this summer bronze look. So I'm just going to use a little bit of Aquaphor and get my lips nice and hydrated. Okay, the last prepping stage, if you will, is I'm going to use a little bit of the Charlotte Tilbury Magic Cream. I just take about that much. I mean, it's not even, you know, just a little bit, because I do find that the more of this I use, my skin is more combination. So the more of this I use, I feel like my foundation slips a little bit. So a little definitely goes a long way when it comes to this magic cream. So we'll just get that on everywhere and let it sort of do its magic. I want to pay special attention to my eyelids because that's where I really want to make that skin as plump and as hydrated as possible. Because when you put on an eyeshadow, that can just be, I think, can look so cakey if it's not moisturized, hydrated, plumped really nicely before your makeup and your eyeshadow application. All right, so before we go to our base, we're going to use the One Step by Stila, and that's just to take out and neutralize any of that purple underneath my eyes. So next I'm gonna go in with the L'Oreal True Match. This is in color 4-5, and I really just like to put this on my hand and spread it out a little bit and work with it. I feel like when I do this, that the body heat sort of melts it a little bit better, makes it easier to go on, and goes on a little bit less thick. Not that this is a thick tinted moisturizer at all, but it definitely, it helps, I think, if I can just spread it out on my hand a little bit and then go in and put it all over my face with just little stipply tight pouncy motions. Less pushing and rubbing of the product and more putting it on and sort of pouncing it. I think that just leaves a better application with this particular formula. If I'm using a more full coverage foundation, then I will go in with a Kabuki brush. I think that for me works a little bit better, but this tinted moisturizer from L'Oreal works really nicely with a damp beauty sponge. And you can see the coverage of this. It's nice. It's sheer enough to still see your skin, but it's pigmented enough to be able to cover and give me just a little bit more of a color to my skin. I do use self-tanner up to my neck, but rarely on my face. So this 4-5 just gives me just the right color to be able to blend everything down into my neck, and all looks seamless. All right, so once our foundation is on, the next thing I'm gonna go in with, and You guys, I'm super, super excited about this because this is a product that I have been using for over a year and a half, probably close to 2 years. And I've never talked about it because it was out on a limited edition and it was gone. As soon as it came out, it was gone. Like I saw this on a tutorial by Lisa D1 and it's at least a year and a half ago. And this is the NARS Cream Bronzer. Now I tried to order it as soon as I heard it was a limited edition. Couldn't find it anywhere, and finally it is back out and it is gorgeous. So I'm so glad it's now available. It's everywhere. I've seen it. I've ordered it actually from Ulta and from Nordstrom, and I saw it at Sephora. It comes in 4 shades. I have it in Laguna. You guys, I'm so glad I can finally talk about this because, and this is not sponsored by NARS, I'm just really, really thrilled that NARS brought this back. It is so easy to work with. I use this as a contour slash bronzer. Now, to those of you that are new to contour, a contour versus bronzer can be a little confusing. They are not the same. Contour is really meant to give structure and shape to the face, where bronzer is meant to just give this sort of glow. You've been out in the sun. You can use the products for a contour and or bronzer interchangeably as long as the contour that you are using, whether it's a bronzer or a contour, if you're using it for contour purposes, you really want it to be matte, no shimmer at all, and definitely stay away from the warm sides, the warmer tones, because you're thinking contour is more shadowing, shading, and that's just not warm on almost any skin type or skin tone or skin color. It's almost always more of a neutral to a cool tone. So in this case, we're gonna use this as a contour, but a very, very light. The older I get, the less contour I'm doing. I'm not trying to create cheekbones. In fact, as I lose collagen, my cheekbones are becoming more pronounced, which is not what I want. So contouring would really help pronounce the cheekbones. So if you do not have cheekbones and you want cheekbones, then just imagine a flat piece of paper and you're gonna just put something dark underneath it to chisel in a cheekbone. So if you're like drawing on a piece of paper and you needed to shadow that, just start sort of at the top part of your ear, especially as we age, we wanna go a little higher, top part of your ear, put a line and just blend that ever so slightly and make sure you go into your hairline. Now, because I'm not trying to create a cheekbone, I'm actually trying to make my cheekbone smaller. You can see how high they are here. I'm just gonna go on the outside of that with my contour to shade that a little bit and get rid of how pronounced they are. So I'll probably end up looking crazy because I'll have 2 different sides, but I'll fix this one so that it matches my other side. And so for this purposes, we're just gonna contour just ever so slightly. The other area where you really wanna pay attention to is our hairline. As we age, our hairline seems to go a little bit back farther because we lose a little bit of that hair in the front. So for me, what I like to do is, because my face is more on the long side, I don't wanna contour on the sides and make my face more skinny. I want to contour on the top and the bottom to make my face look a little bit shorter, so that in taking it from sort of a, think about Bert and Ernie. This is a really good analogy. I used to have a face like Ernie, really round. Now it's a little bit more like Bert, where it is thinner and feels longer because of gravity. Hairline elongates it. So I want to make that appear closer together. So I'm just going to put a little bit of contour right through there, ever so slightly. You can see that's about 2 shades, maybe 3 darker than my foundation, and that's just about what you want, because you want to just blend it in so that it doesn't look as light as it goes back. Let me go back and blend in this contour that we did on the cheekbone. Now again, if you want to create cheekbones, you're going to go just a little bit lower, like the top part of your ear, straight, and just build a little bit of a contour there. And then I always like to go right through here. So when you think of contour, it doesn't have to be this extreme heavy contour. It can just be just a light shadowing. Same thing on this side. We're just gonna go right into the hairline. And I'm just trying to create sort of a face that's a little bit more round. So do a little trace so you can see. I'm just trying to create that type of a look versus, you know, the Bert look. Not that there's anything wrong with that. So if you like Bert and Ernie and you prefer the Bert shaped face, then that's awesome. That's easy to create. You just put more contour on the sides and highlight on the top to make it look elongated. So if you have like a round face, for example, and you want to make it more thin or long looking, then that's exactly what you would do. You would just shadow the sides and a little bit on the top and a little bit on the bottom, but make it more narrow and tall. My art teacher would be so proud of my learning shading and contouring skills. It took makeup to learn it, but you know, better late than never. There, and you can see how that contour is just giving a little bit of a shape, but again, I'm not trying to create anything other than sort of an upward look. Now, what really sets off this summer bronzy look is the layering of the contour creamy colors, and what takes it to the next level is the bronze powder. That will be sort of that second layer. If you put it, just like on your blush, if you start with a cream product and then put a powder product over it, it's gonna last longer. And in this case, with contour and bronze, we're gonna use different colors within the same tone, but different colors, so that it not only sets that bronzer and contour, but that it gives sort of an ombre-ish type look, which again, that's sort of how people's skin looks out in real life. It's not all monotone. Now, in terms of monotone, we do want to keep our color to our face very monochromatic. And what I mean by that is whatever bronzer we're going to use for our face, it's the same bronzer that we're going to use for our eyes, because that is also sort of that summery glow bronzy look, is when you don't have a bunch of different colors. It's very monochromatic, but shiny, golden, warm tones. So the next thing that we want to do is do a little bit of highlighting ever so lightly, and I'm going to go in with the NYX Wonderstick. And I love this one because it has this nice light color on one end, and then it also has a contour stick on the other end, just in case you don't want to have a separate contour, which why would you? If you didn't have to, I wouldn't either. And I'm going to put a little bit of highlight right through here, just because again, I want to bring this part down. And we're going to go just right through here for the lip area to make that stand up a little bit more and pull it up. And then I'm going to go just on the side of my nose, because I tend to red there. Right down the center, and then right at the outer corner of my eye, we're gonna go up like that. A little bit in the center, because that gets purpley. So sort of think about this as your new way of highlighting. Now, that probably looks crazy, but it will pay off dividends in the end. So we're just gonna take that and just press it in. We're not trying to move that at all. And you guys saw how fast that was. So don't let my talking scare you off thinking that is a lot of products. It really isn't. It's super easy. And just blend that in, and that step is done. Now the next thing that we want to do is add a little bit of blush. Now I'm going to go in with the DM Color Fix. This is in Ballerina. I've highlighted this one before. I really like it because of its creaminess and how easy it is to apply. And it's just the right color. It's not too pink. It's not too peach. It's not too purpley or mauvey. It's not too bright or bold. I just think it's just a nice, perfect color. And I just want to go just barely on the apples of my cheeks. And what that means for me is on the high point of my eyebrow, then you take the high point of your cheekbone. And then the key to a nice blush application, I think, is once you get it where you want it, I like to go back over it with my however I put on my foundation and just blur out the edges of that blush. So there's a nice transition between your blush to your foundation. And then of course leave that in a nice upward motion, because we need to work against gravity because it's been working against us. See how pretty and natural that is? I think that combination of that True Match by L'Oreal and this DM Color Fix is just a home run for me. I think it's so pretty. It's just the right amount of highlight for our more mature skin. It doesn't have those small particles of glitter that reflect the light everywhere from our textured skin. I just think it's just a beautiful, natural looking blush. And it's just enough. It doesn't say, oh, here comes my blushy cheeks. So this next step is easy, but it is an important part of the process. Before we put any type of powder on here, and we're gonna powder with our bronzer, I like to take one of these face halos or any brand like this that has sort of a cloth to it. And I like to just put it in half, almost like a taco. And I just press it wherever I tend to get more textured, like I'm, texturing around the bottom of my chin. I have larger pores right around my nose, and I just allow this to pick up any of the excess oil from the products. Next, we're gonna go in with our powder bronzer, and I'm using 2 different colors, and I typically use 2 different color bronzers for this type of a look because I just feel like you get more of a dimension through your forehead and the side of your face. One is the Dior Backstage. This is in 3N. and the other one is the Milani Suntan. So you can tell one's a little warmer. This is definitely lighter. Neither one of them offer a shimmer per se. They're both fairly matte. And I like to go in with this darker one first. And for that, I'm gonna use my new BK Beauty 106 brush, which I'm excited about. It feels very soft. I'm gonna go into the Suntan by Milani, and I'm just gonna go ever so slightly light-handed over where I put that contour. Because this is a bronze, so we just wanna look as though we have kissed the sun a little bit. We've got a little bit of warm color, but we haven't been out in the sun without a sunscreen. That's not the look we're going for. We just want a little bit of a color, and I'm just putting that, you can see, kind of in a 3, a backwards 3 on both sides, or maybe even a figure 8. And because this is the darker bronzer, we don't want to cover anything where we just put that highlighter. So we're just going to sort of set, if you will, where we put that contour. And then we'll take a different brush, and in this case, I'm going to use this fan brush by Real Techniques 420. And I'm gonna go in with the lighter of the bronzers. And this is Dior Backstage 3 in for neutral. And what we wanna do with this is just, again, sort of go around the edges, not all the way up to the hairline, because that's where we put that darker bronzer. Just around the edges, soften it up. And then this is the one where we just wanna give it a little bit of a kiss of color. So bring it over your blush and up to your nose. Sort of like that. Now it's such a finely milled powder. That's why this one you can put and not feel like, oh my gosh, I've got a heavy powder. It's the only powder that we're gonna put on our face, especially if you have dry skin. If you have more oily skin and you wanna use another powder to set this, you certainly could. You could use the Laura Mercier translucent powder. You could use the Shiseido powder. Elf makes a really good powder. NYX makes a good powder. I'm not going to do that because the last step that I wanna do for my face is just go over it with this Stila in Kitten. And I'm just gonna take that and go just ever so slightly on this outer section of my cheekbones on both sides. Just gonna go right down a little bit of my nose and ever so slightly above my brows. So now that we've highlighted our brow area, we wanna make sure that our brows turn out nicely. So I'm gonna grab my pure eyebrow brush and I'm just gonna comb my brows. Now the thing about the eyebrows for this type of a look is it's more of a combed hair look. It's not a solid color. And I think we've talked about that before, is that for summer, and especially for more mature skin, we are not trying to have a solid one line brow. We really want it to be more look like hair. You'll see I'm just gonna comb all this out and up on both sides and trim any of those hairs that have, you know, thought that they were planted with Miracle-Gro, so that they do not take on sort of this, you know, Jack and the Beanstalk look. And just gonna take this across the bottom, and I'm really just making little small strokes. This is in medium, by the way. And I love this because it has a thin pencil point and the wide point. I've just used the pencil part gone, so I'm just gonna use this until it's gone. I'm just gonna go across the bottom to give it the shape that I want, and then I'll go back and fill in like little hair strokes so that I'm not creating a solid line of color across the brows. And you'll notice I do the front of the brows last, just because I do want more of that ombre type look. So I'll change the position of the eyebrow brush when I go to do the center. So for that, you just try to create little tiny hairlines. And I've been pulling that out a little bit closer to my nose because I'm noticing as I age, my eyebrows are starting to get farther and farther apart. I want more of that youthful, bigger brow look, so I'm pulling them back together. Well, I'm drawing them back together, but you know, because remember, a nice healthy brow goes from the outer corner of your nose straight up. So that would go right about there for me. So you can see I'm a little shy on this side, so I want it to go right there. If I'm in a hurry, sometimes I'll just take this eyebrow pen with the ink side up, or the color, the pigmented part application, and I'll just do that and go straight up so that I have that line that I'm looking for to start with, and then I'll just fill it in from there. And then when we get to the tail, you know, of course, make it from the nose to the outer eye to the tail, and that the tail is kicking more towards the temple versus straight down. And then I'm going to go back in and set that with the Benefit Brow Gel. I've really enjoyed this because it allows me to put my brows more horizontal and just gives a thicker look to the brow. Again, if you don't have brow gel and it's not in your budget right now, no worries. Just grab a comb, a fine-tooth comb, or even the bottom of a eyebrow brush. Spritz it with hairspray just a little bit and then comb through it while the hairspray is still wet so that it doesn't look clumpy. And then it will dry. Now, one thing to think about is just look for a hairspray that dries more matte and not glossy or shiny, because we don't want a shine on your eyebrows, so just don't use a shine hairspray. Okay, so eyebrows are done, face is done, which is our base, and then the layering. Now we're going to go to the eyes, which is the fun part for me for this look. We have a little bit of foundation on our eyes already. I'm going to go in with my concealer, and again, we're trying to minimize the layering, and I'm just going to cover up any discoloration that I have and lighten up that whole lid so that I can really get a good color payoff. And I don't want to add a lot. I just want to add enough to cover. And then I will go in with a small brush, preferably a synthetic brush if you've got one. I say that to stall to say if I've got one, which I don't. That's okay. We will just use this brush. It works okay. It's not my favorite for a cream base. And again, this was just the highlighter stick from NYX. If you've got a primer that you like for your lids, you can do that. I'm not trying to add color. I'm actually trying to neutralize any of the pigmentation, any veins that you have, and really get your eyelid to more of a neutral state and maybe just slightly lighter than your skin, your foundation. So next you just want to grab a nice fluffy blendable eyebrow brush. This is the Sigma Soft Blend number 10. It's tapered at the top, it's loose bristles so that you're not putting a ton of pigmentation and picking up color, but it's nice and blendable, but will also deposit the right amount of color. You can build it if you want. And for that, we're going to go in with our lighter bronze. So whatever bronzer that you used earlier, the lighter one, I'm going to go in with this Dior Backstage. And you want to start with that just below your brow bone and taking it all the way up to the lower part of your eyebrow right here, and then bring it around your nose and then cover the rest of your lid with it, except, 3/4 of underneath your eyebrow. Light hand, little bit of color deposit. So there's some new eyeshadow palettes out that you guys are excited about. I just recently picked up the new Naked Sin. I'm looking forward to using that one. And then Anastasia of Beverly Hills launched a new one today. I'll be testing that one out for you guys here shortly. Next, I'm just gonna take a brush that I haven't put any color on it on, any fluffy one, and just soften the edges and just give that a little bit more of a blend so it looks very natural. Now I'm gonna go back to the original brush that we used and go into that darker bronze that we used to go over our contour at the higher outer edges. And I'm just gonna go in ever so slightly to that outer corner and just deposit a little bit more color to give it a bit of a, little bit of dimension. And then I'm gonna pull that slightly out. And I'm not gonna go any farther into my eye than about, maybe 2 widths of the brush. The tip of the brush, or what is that, about 25% of your lid, and then just kick it up almost to your brow but fade out before you get there, just like that. It gives a little bit of a lifting look to your eye without somebody looking at it going, wow, it looks like you've used eyeshadow to lift the outer corner of your eye, because then we have not done a very good job blending. Do the same thing on that side. Oh yeah, that's exactly what we're looking for. And staying with the monochromatic look, I'm gonna go into my Natasha Denona Glam palette. And I'm looking for a lighter shimmer color, so I think we'll go for this one right here, which is called Inner Corner, which is perfect. Just gonna get a little bit on my finger and put it on my eyelid, a little bit past halfway, all the way into the corner. Just like that. And of course, if you have darker skin, you can apply a little bit more or a darker shimmer, or if you have lighter skin, you can apply a lighter shimmer or maybe just a little bit lighter hand when you apply that. Next, we're gonna go in with our torture device, also known as our 1950s eyelash curler, and just curl from the base of the lash ever so slightly, and I like to crimp as I go up. I know not everyone loves this step. That's okay. If you don't worry about it. You don't have to have, it's not a critical step for this look. I just like to give the eyes a very wide open, bright, alert type of a look. Ultra precise. And I'm gonna use the Ultra Precise Waterproof Eyeliner, the Idol by L'Oreal. Next, I'm gonna use the Ultra Precise Waterproof Eyeliner by Lancome. This is their Idol line. And to do that, I'm just gonna go from the outer corner of my eye, go in an upward direction, very small. Same on this eye. And I like to just step back and go, okay, are those the same angle? Because that's the hardest part. And once you get that, then you've sort of started your template. But making sure that those are the same height and same angle is such a critical part that I don't think we spend enough time doing that. And from there, I'm just gonna go across the center of my lash and just little tiny strokes, slowly starting to migrate up and away from my lash line, knowing that I want to meet that line I just drew. Just like that. And then we're just gonna color that in. I like to use this ultra fine because it's so small and I feel like I can get really close to my lashes without creating a thick liner. Okay, and then once you've got that eyeliner in place, just go back and do a little bit of cleanup with your concealer just to straighten up that line just a little bit and give a little bit more brightness to underneath that eye, but not going over the shadow that we just put in that corner. We just want to make a nice crisp line, but we're not trying to have a winged liner. We're just trying to have a little bit of a lift and elongated eye. So next we're gonna go in with a little tiny brush. Go back to that darker of the two bronzers that we used and just go ever so slightly, brush straight at the eye versus at an angle so that we're not depositing color too low. And I just want to give a little bit of dimension to that under eye area so that it doesn't look like that dark liner that we put on our eyelids is weighing down or pulling down. I want to give it sort of an anchor with this bronzer. And then I just like to go just underneath that eyeliner just to pull the colors together. And we're almost done with the eyes. We're gonna take a little fine brush. Then we'll go back to the lighter color of the eyeshadow that we pressed on our lids and go right in the corner or that inner V to brighten up that eye area and just blend all the colors together so they all flow into one another, making a nice soft look. So to give a nice thick look to my lashes, I'm gonna go with 3 coats of mascara, 2 being a regular coat, and then the last one being waterproof. I will do that off camera and I will be right back with all of my mascara on. We are about 3 steps away from our finished and completed look. I'm gonna go in with the Charlotte Tilbury Iconic Nude Lip Liner. It's just a darker rose color. So we're just gonna outline our lips with this. And if you want a bigger or a thicker, larger lip, then you just connect at the top of your Cupid's bow instead of having the 2 points. Just connect those together and it gives a thicker look to your lip. So we'll do that for today's look. Since there's not a lot of color, we're just gonna create a bigger lip. And once you filled that in, we're gonna go in with the Natasha Denona I Need a Rose, and this is in the color Calla. I'm just gonna take that on a synthetic brush. This is the Morphe M167. And I like to use a brush to do my lipstick only because as we age, I just feel like my lips are they have more lines like everything else. So this really helps me push in the product into all of my lip and not just the outer part of the lip so that when I smile, I don't have deep creases where the color did not deposit. This type of a synthetic brush really does allow me to get better application, and I think my lipstick lasts longer when I apply it with a brush. So you can see how filling in that Cupid's bow just gives a little bit of a lift and a thickness to the lip. And then I'm gonna go back in with the DM Color Fix in Ballerina that we used for our blush, and I'm just gonna touch up the center of my lip, up and down, the top and bottom. There, just to give sort of that glowy look. Next, I'm gonna grab the e.l.f. Dewy Coconut and set that everywhere. Let that dry, and there you go. I hope you love the finished look that you've created. If you didn't do this with me, I hope you pull it up the next time you're doing your makeup and just get ready for summer with this fun bronzy look. So now let's go to the outfit of the day, and this is just a cute little shirt. It is longer than most of them, which I love. This is by Madewell. I just have it paired with a pair of white jeans. These are from Hudson, some of my favorite jeans. It's very flattering. It's got the, it's tighter through here, but then it's got the ruffles, so you've got some room in case you're wearing lower waisted jeans. it's long enough, but it's also not so far down that it visually stops at the width of your hips and sort of makes this area wider, which I love about it. It just falls in the right spot. Of course, you can adjust it with these sleeves, which is really what I love about sleeves that are adjustable. I can make it a little bit higher if I wanted to, if I did have some higher waisted jeans or lower waisted and I want a little bit of ab showing, you can adjust it. Or if you're like, you know, it just hits me in the wrong space, you can loosen these to make it longer or shorter. So I love it for that reason. Of course, just a little strapless bra, so it's not visible, and there you go. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Good luck, enjoy your summer, and I will see you next time. Thanks so much for watching. Bye-bye.